You are listening to the Heartland Author Podcast. Welcome to the Heartland Author Podcast. I am Aaron Apollo Camp, the host of this podcast. I am an author and soon-to-be poet. This episode is going to be a noticeably short one about something I did very recently to one of my YouTube playlists. If you go to my YouTube channel, the Heartland Author channel, and click on the Playlist tab, you will find my Best of Author 2 playlist. In that playlist, none of the videos are by me. Instead, I use that playlist to feature other YouTubers' work on topics related to writing, editing, and publishing, among other writing-related topics. You'll find videos from Author 2 members like Meg Latour of iWriterly, Natalia Lee, Shaylin Bishop, Jenna Moresi, and others on my Best of Author 2 playlist. You probably noticed that I have a NASCAR-themed video in my Best of Author 2 playlist. That video is a video by YouTube user Slapshoes, spelled S1APSHOES, featuring his alignment chart of NASCAR Cup Series race winners. You may be wondering why a NASCAR-themed video appears in a playlist featuring videos about book writing-related topics. So I'll explain. An alignment chart is something that can be especially useful to a fiction author as it can help classify characters' behavior. The alignment chart was originally developed for the Dungeons & Dragons board game, and in the form commonly known today, there are two axes of alignment. One, typically depicted as the vertical axis, is good versus evil, and the other, typically depicted as the horizontal axis, is lawful versus chaotic. Each axis has a neutral position, thus forming a 3x3 grid. Not all protagonists are lawful good, and not all antagonists are chaotic evil. Sometime before the end of the current calendar year, I will be doing a writing-themed YouTube video about how an alignment chart can help fiction authors classify characters based on their behavior patterns. This is Aaron Apollo Camp reminding you to write your imagination. Bye for now. If you would like to be interviewed for a future episode of the Heartland Author Podcast, please email the podcast host at campaaronapollo@gmail.com. This podcast episode is intended for the private listening of our audience. Any reuse, retransmission, or redistribution of this podcast episode in any form without the express written consent of the podcast host is prohibited. Sound effects obtained from https://www.zapsplat.com.